Hello, everyone. Welcome. This is Dr. Kamani, licensed clinical psychologist. You are here for how do you replace your income when you leave a toxic job? So, I wanted to have this conversation because many Black women, myself included, one of the main issues that kept me longer at a toxic job was concerns about how it's going to pay my bills, right? So, you may have those similar concerns if you are here right now. So I'm so excited today that I have two of my first business coaches. I have Dr. TK and I have Dr. Roche. And so they're going to introduce themselves and then we're going to talk to you about the more practical tips in relation to how to replace your income because we don't want you staying anywhere that's harming you, particularly a toxic job. So we're going to talk about some different options for you. So I'm going to turn it over to my guest to introduce themselves. Dr. TK, I'll start with you.
Hey, everyone. So my name is Dr. TK, short for Dr. Takesha Jackson Rudd. I am a licensed clinical psychologist out here in Southern California. I am also a therapist, business coach, author, speaker, and trainer. And yeah, I can't wait to get into this conversation today.
Yes. And Dr. TK, again, was my first business coach. So remember, I say to you that when you think about leaving or replacing your income, be open to looking at who can help you. So who can show you the next steps of what you need to do. And then you may have seen my interview recently with Dr. Roche because we're doing a masterclass together. So again, if you want that masterclass, you need to get that today because early registration ends November 1st. So that is Get Your Money Right so you can leave that toxic job. This is a financial masterclass for Black women. So Dr. Roche, if you can introduce yourself, please.
Yes. Hello, both of you guys, Dr. Kamani and Dr. TK. Lovely to see you both. And hello to everybody else. I am Dr. Roche Brown. I am also known as the Doctor of Rethinking because I help people to remix their thinking so they can make money, manage money, and multiply their money. So you guys know I like to fire up the chat. So if you're trying to make some money, y'all put some ones in the chat. If you're trying to manage money, put some twos. And if you want all three, go ahead and put some threes in the chat if you want to multiply your money as well. And I am a licensed clinical psychologist, but the last 8 years or so, I've added money to the game. So I call myself a financial psychologist, helping people with understanding their money mindset so they can, make different moves when it comes down to their money.
Yes. And you may remember also Dr. Roche and I were on Stephanie Perry's channel on Saturday. Yes. So you may have seen us there talking about the masterclass and talking about money should not make you stay at a toxic job. You have options, yes. Okay? And as I mentioned before, Dr. TK was my first business coach and Dr. Roche helped me get my money together so I can get out that toxic job. So I know what these women are talking about, okay? So we're going to talk about how to replace your income. So Dr. TK and Dr. Roche, Black women that I've worked with, and even myself, you all know my story, right? So in terms of the fears of leaving a toxic job, the fears of how am I going to pay my bills? Mm-hmm. Oh my God, what's going to happen? I'm going to end up homeless. And you know what I want to say too, this is a treat. You all get 3 Black women clinical psychologists, licensed clinical psychologists. Yes. Okay. I just want to say that. Okay. What a treat. So can you all speak to a little bit behind what are some of those fears? Like, are they reality based? Speak a little bit more about those fears, please.
Yeah. So the last job that I was at, I was within a large organization for about 4.5 years. And I would say fears are definitely real to a degree until we prove them wrong, right? And so I didn't realize how much mine was proved wrong until I retracted on a desire that I had for myself, and then I end up going back to the job. So fear will end up drowning you back or dragging you back into an environment or mindset or both that you don't want to be in. But I know for myself, some of those fears were definitely related to finances. And the crazy part is I really think spiritually is like in terms of false evidence appearing real. The crazy part is behind closed doors or with my CPA, financially, I was doing just fine. Yes. Right. Yes. I did all the calculations to overinflate how much I needed to make in my business. Therefore, I put together a plan.
Yes.
Then when toxicity started coming up, I left. Then 6 months later, after I left, I got into a fear state because I started thinking about what is going to happen in my life over the next 6 months to a year, expansion in
Mhm.
family. So those fears of things that did not even happen yet
Mm.
actually pulled me back into the job that honestly I was happy I finally removed myself from.
Yeah.
And I lasted a whole 43 days. So that was like they were like 43. I'm like, exactly 43. But that 43 days, I don't regret it
Yeah.
because it did teach me something, and it taught me that fear is definitely man-made. We read about it, but to be able to experience it, sometimes, excuse my language, we got to get knocked upside the head a little bit sometimes to experience something in order for us to realize we are making things up in our mind, and then we are our biggest block to like the next level.
Yes, Dr. K, I'm so glad you said it. And I remember when I interviewed you previously, and I'll put her interview in the description section. I think over a year ago, I interviewed you. And I remember your story where you talked about that before and how fear, you said, okay, well, I'm gonna get prepared. And I think a lot of Black women, we get prepared, right? We get ready, right? You got ready, you left, but then the fear took over instead of faith, and you went back. And then when you went back, you're like, what am I doing back here? What is happening here? And so you were like, no, this is not what I want for myself. And you were able to leave. And so even though you still had the fear, you still walk forward in faith, right? So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
What about you, Dr. Roche? What are some of the fears that you've heard from Black women since you work with them, particularly about finances in relation to fears?
Definitely, Dr. TK, mentioned false evidence appearing real. I often describe fear as the lies we tell ourselves, right? And I think that, and that comes like even with anxiety, anytime we have anxiety, we have millions of thoughts only telling us the worst case scenario.
True.
And we don't give the opportunity for us to think about possibilities of how else can this look, what else can happen.
Yeah.
And so, a lot of fears that come up for people oftentimes are, afraid that they're not going to be able to pay their bills. Maybe they'll be able to do it for 1 month, afraid of if they're starting a business, are they going to make enough money in the next couple of months to maintain, so those are fears that happen. People, are really aware of benefits, because when we get a good job, we like, what we gonna do? We don't have no benefits no more. So that becomes like a huge fear. What am I gonna do with my 401k? How do I roll it over? Do I roll it over? Do I leave it at the job? Those issues end up happening. Sometimes, like, how do I continue to have a retirement? Afterwards, health insurance, how am I going to pay for that? How much does that cost? Because we're only used to our job, taking care of those things. And so those are like the major fears that tend to come up for people more than anything.
Absolutely. And Dr. Roche, you gave like a heads up on what we're going to be covering in the masterclass, right?
Yes.
So Black women, if you watch this right now and what Dr. Roche was saying spoke to your soul, you need to sign up for the masterclass, okay?
Yes.
So what would you all say to Black women, given all these fears, what would you say to them, right? So we want to acknowledge the fear. We want to confront the fear, like we talked about on Stephanie Perry's channel, right? That, a job, as she quoted, a job is not a good job if it's killing you. And if you're accessing your so-called good benefits because a job is stressing you out and harming you, again, it's not a good job. So when we think about how to address the fears, we're all clinical psychologists here. We know that avoidance short-term helps us, but long-term makes things worse. What would you say to Black women about fear? So we've talked about our own journeys in relation to fears or what we've heard from Black women. What would we say, or what words of encouragement can we give to Black women who might be experiencing these fears?
Yeah. Well, the first thing that comes up to me is like actually a picture. I think about those red flags, like that whole, theme, because I think that sometimes we ignore signs that we are not supposed to be in a particular, location, environment, or around certain people. And we will create stories or narratives for ourselves that will like justify why we are there. I'm gonna even say sometimes why we accept the position in the first place, because sometimes I believe that people accept positions, like when I went back in the 43 days, knowing my intuition and my gut was telling me this isn't a good match and I'm not aligned. And I know me and Dr. Roche have talked about alignment for a long time. And for myself, I've learned, and I just want to share this with women, like you have to listen, or you should listen internally. A lot of times your gut, or like the whole little old school cartoon, the angel and the devil, the little angel is telling you it is not the right move.
Girl, get out.
Right. But then you force it.
Yeah.
And like some people experience like conflict or non-alignment when they're frustrated, when they're angry,
Mm-hmm.
when they're, for me, getting physically sick, and then tapping it out to like, oh, I love my job, but not realizing it's not the job that's the problem. It's the environment that's the problem. But like, you know, ignorance is bliss, and ignorance is not a curse word. I always say that because sometimes in the Black community, we act like it's a curse word, but it's just like, we don't know.
Yeah.
So I would say pay attention to signs, and also just second is like bet on you, which goes back to faith. So maybe we need to do some internal work about how do you see yourself as being valuable in that agency or place you work, or maybe it's somewhere else. Even if it's not like in your own business, it can be you being a great employee somewhere else.
Yes. You know what I really appreciate what you said too is that, you know, sometimes I think as Black women, we throw ourselves so much into our work because we become so passionate, and usually we're doing it so good. We love the work, right? And then we start saying, but no, I love the work. No, it's the toxic system. And I think when we take a step back and say, wait a minute, I still love the work, but this job, this toxic system is hurting me. And that's when it's important to kind of pivot. So thank you, Dr. TK. What about you, Dr. Roche?
Encouragement. I mean, we can look at Dr. TK and Dr. Kamani. That's encouragement enough, right? You know,
and you
and
too.
Me. I only work 20 hours, right? Like, you know, so I think, right, you know, looking at testimonies, right, of like people who maybe been in a toxic environment and went out on their own, and they're successful. Right. They're all the anxiety and all the tension that they were holding is all gone because they decided to make that move. And I would say, like, you know, it's just important to like just get knowledgeable. I think a lot of times when we have all these fears and all these lies, a lot of times it's because we're fear of the unknown. And we need somebody to really just explain to us, what are the steps? What should we do? You know, how do I get my finances in order? If that's one of your fears. So you figure out how to do that. If you're feeling like, you know, emotionally tied, you know, I went to school and got this huge degree, you know, I have to be a psychologist, and this is the only way that I can be one, right? Like, I know that we all had those feelings at one point too. And so you realize, wait, you know, I can create my own story. You know, Dr. K said your narrative in your head, your narrative doesn't have to be the negative narrative. You can choose to create a different vision for yourself and what that other narrative can be. You know, what does your ideal day look like if you were, you know, doing your own thing and you were feeling free and, you know, able to, you know, touch people's lives the way that you want to touch people's lives without being in that toxic environment. Sometimes we just don't take the time to really build that vision. And I think that's what's extremely important.
And I think it's important for us as Black women that when we are experiencing harm in a toxic workplace, take a step back, right? So I talk all the time about, if you could take a leave of absence, please take that leave, right? Because it gives you some space away from it, and you're able to reflect on, okay, so what is the life that I want for myself? What is the job that I want for myself? What is the environment? Do I want to work for myself? What is it that I want for myself? And also, you all both talked about the narrative that we're telling ourselves. Be also mindful that sometimes the narrative is somebody else's narrative. They're projecting something on us, right? So you all know, because I all talked to both of you all about people, my mother, projecting things onto me in terms of her own fears. And I think a lot of Black women have that experience. So we have to be mindful. You have to think about what's best for you, and you don't have to tell everybody your business. So if you're choosing to do so, you think about what you need for you and your family, and maybe don't share things with people who are going to project their fears onto you. So we were going to talk about how to replace your income. So can we talk about some specific tips or to help Black women think about how to replace your income? Because Dr. GK, I started working with you, and I was able to pivot to doing therapy. And then from therapy, other stuff started coming along, right? Multiple streams of income, like you talked about. So that was something I was able to say, okay, what are the skills I already have? I can do therapy. I can pivot to that. So that was an example of what I did. So can you both share, what are some tips that you can offer to Black women who might be watching right now or in the future about how they can start replacing their income so they feel a little bit more confident about leaving that toxic job?
Yeah. So one word that comes to a phrase like lowest hanging fruit, like going back to your example, but for even if clearly people are not all therapists, right? So you mentioned the word gifts. Everybody has a multiple list of gifts.
Yeah.
The question is, what season in your life are you in where you can tap into that gift and that you honestly know you got that gift, but trying to keep it on the low. And so, some people may use the word side hustle. You may not go into a full-fledged business, but I would say first tap into that gift, like one of them, and just see what can come out of it. Because really, if we go back to fear, some people are just not betting on faith and trying to like take a leap over and trying to see, and they just stay in the narrative, the negative narrative, not like a positive one. So I would say go with what keeps coming up. So usually when I work with therapists, of course, as a business coach for therapists, they'll say, how do I know what my gift is? And I'm like, your gift is staring you right in the face. Because I also recognize that if Black women are also in the helping profession, or they oversee people, or they're helping people, they don't take compliments well. At least the Black women that I've run into, like you just kind of stayed over, including myself, compliments. But people, when they're giving you compliments, they're actually telling you what you're good at what you're good at. But sometimes we're so focused on checklists, moving to the next thing, boom, accomplish something because we're trying to move on to the next level, that we're not even taking the time to consume what we're good at. Because if you could find out what that is, then go find the YouTube videos to support it. Go find the coach or community that can go support it. But we cannot, before burnout, be the jack of all trades. But that is a trait that I think a lot of women hold, that we do have 8 arms. And I despise that picture. Because I just want women to own one arm, like one extra arm. Figure out what that one thing is, try it. And if it doesn't work, then go to the next gift.
Yes. And I think for us as Black women too, we have had to do so much, right? And be so good at so many things simultaneously. And I heard a Black woman say, let's take the S off our chest. Like, I don't want to be the superwoman. I can be, but I don't want to be a superwoman all the time. And something else I remember you saying too, Dr. TK, is that let's not give away our talents for free. Right. So if we have talents, people are seeking us out for certain things. We need to charge for that. Right. So, and as Black people, we need to support one another and paying each other for what we are able to offer. Right. So again, be mindful what your talents are, and whatever people are saying to you, lean into that. That might be the talent that you're able to make money from. And you said side hustle. You might start off as a side hustle, for us to keep that in mind as well. So Dr. Roch, what about for you?
Yeah, I would echo everything that Dr. TK actually said. I often call it like your price tag, as an acronym. Your T, your talents; your A, your abilities; your G, your gifts, right? That's our price tag. That's where our value lies, is in our talents, our abilities, and our gifts. And so I think it's extremely important for us to take the time to list those out, just like what Dr. TK said. It's going to be part of our masterclass to actually go through, what are your talents, abilities, and gifts, and then figuring out, how do I monetize them? And that's what Dr. TK said, like, the lowest hanging fruit, right? Finding what you feel like you're aligned with within this season. And one thing that came in mind when Dr. TK was talking regarding, people telling you and complimenting you, it made me think of like 360 evaluations. I don't know if you guys ever seen these before, but the beauty of a 360 evaluation is that you get to, send, an evaluation out to all these different people. It could be people that you worked with, people that you have personal relationships with, people that may have been an unintentional client in the past. And they can give you like some more understanding of like what you bring to the table. So though you may not have insight on it, other people around you have insight on it. And that can help you even understand it even better.
Yes. Okay, so we're talking about tips to replace income. So that's the one thing. The other thing that keeps Black women at toxic jobs is the so-called good benefits, right? Now, even though I said if a job is like Stephanie Perry, if job is killing you, it's not a good job. Or if you're accessing your health benefits because you're sick from the job, it's not a good job. Okay. So if we were to think about health benefits, right? So I'm, paying out of pocket for health benefits. It's okay. It's not as horrible as I thought it was going to be, right? So it's like you confront the monster, right? You confront like, oh my God, it's going to be horrible. Oh, wait a minute. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. Okay. So what can you say to Black women about health benefits and not staying at a toxic job because of these so-called good health benefits?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm like, ooh. All right. So mine is multi-layered only because I think about like medical, like other variables that may make somebody see health benefits as a bigger beast than what it is. Right. So I've had a layer of medical conditions in which during my exit, I was going through some of those processes in terms of like, getting my health taken care of. And so initially, I thought it was a beast. And then, it was just a light bulb that went off and said, hey, why don't you just do certain steps to find out how much it actually costs? Because I worked for an agency where it was considered even a cafeteria benefit, where I didn't have to pay for anything. So it was like free. And so when I paid attention to how much it costs then, and by this time, I'm not going to lie, I was already investing into mindset tools, personal development, even just listening to stuff in the morning. And one of the things I started recognizing really quickly is like, time is your biggest currency, right? So I can look at, for example, a job pays $400 to $500. I don't know how much, it's more now, but like it can pay $400 to $500 for the highest tier of my medical insurance. But when I look at all the time I'm getting back as a business owner to then turn around and do what I love, use my gifts, go out there and earn way more money, and then honestly talk to a tax person so they can then end up telling me it was a tax write-off anyway, I was like, sign me up.
Right. It's a no-brainer right there.
There was no loss. I was like, it's a write-off and on my own. So after that, I just start doing, calculation around finances, which I'm sure y'all get into in y'all masterclass. But once I did the calculation, the time I got back for me was worth way more than the premium.
Absolutely.
On top of that, I can add my own family. Like I have control over what insurance I have, not a job dictating what level of insurance I had. And the insurance that I got was premium, and it showed up and showed out when I had to go through all those processes for my son. And that was all out of pocket, but everything was covered.
Yes. And, you're speaking to also what we talked about before, I think when we talked, Roche, with Stephanie Perry, avoidance, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of us have no idea how much health insurance would be out of pocket, have no idea, but we have in our mind, it's going to be this astronomical number and we'll be able to get the same benefits we had the job. And you're saying, no, just approach it. Just look at the numbers, look at what it is, and it might even be a tax write-off, right?
Yeah.
So just be open to approaching it. So thank you, Dr. TK. What about you, Dr. Roche? What about for you in terms of health benefits for Black women?
I agree. Just go look into it. I think, like I say, it's still like that fear of the unknown.
Yeah,
we just don't know what it's going to look like. So we just assume, like, really that it's going to be thousands and thousands of dollars, not recognizing it's going to be something that is affordable for you, right? And technically, you're paying it at your job anyway. You just don't even know it, right? Like it is happening. It's part of the package there. And even with Dr. TK saying time is your greatest currency, and your health is too, so if it's killing you, if you're able to have like your health back, you're free, you have clarity in your mind to be able to think and to be creative of what's possible for your life. That is like priceless. Right. And if you can buy that back, that's what we would want you to have, you know?
Absolutely. So what would you say if there's a Black woman watching this right now and she is just dreading her job? She absolutely hates it. She dreads it. She's thinking about, oh my God, I want to leave, but I'm scared about the money. I'm scared, right? If she's watching this right now, talk to her as if she's right here. What would you say to her, Dr. TK?
Well, I'm like, I'll just talk to my old version of myself.
Okay.
And so I would be more like a coach at this point, like a football coach. Like a Dr. Eric Thomas, like, don't you give up on you, because that's when like Roche know. Like I'll get super aggressive because I feel like, especially if this woman is like around people who love her, right? And they cheer her on. They should see the strengths that she has. And like Dr. Roche had talked about with like the TA, the price tag, is that ideally this woman would be surrounded around somebody that's already pouring into her, that is like goal one, right? To support her throughout this process. But just to let her know, like, I like the tagline that I use with my clients is like, pain is temporary. Like you never know, as y'all had talked about earlier, we have to walk into the unknown. Sometimes it feels uncomfortable, but that's when our biggest shifts happen. And I love the idea of like, what would life be like if everything was so predictable? Like that would be boring. And so who wants a boring life? Who wants boring abundance? People want to have fun. People like surprises, and it can feel scary. And I know that woman may feel scared right now. But if we reflect back more therapeutically, if we reflect back, try to remember one instance in your whole life. We're talking to different age groups here. Think about one instance in your whole life that when you were in that moment, you really felt like you weren't going to get out of it. But, yet here we are. And when I typically give that reframe, I'll do this with my hand, like a reframe, the change in your mindset, it makes you think like, I've overcome so much.
Yeah.
So like you will probably start even looking at the job like, oh, this ain't nothing.
Right.
Because a lot of us have been through a lot.
True. Right. This job ain't got none on me. Right. If you think about all I've gone through, this is nothing. Yes. And so I appreciate that in terms of having that inner coach, but also in a loving kind of firm way to say, I see better for you. This is not the end. This is not the end for you. You've been through worse. You can get through this. And we talked about this on Stephanie Perry's channel. Look at the data. So if the data has shown you before that you've been able to get out of difficult situations, you've been able to get another job, more than likely you're going to get another job if you want another job or start your own business, right? So thinking about that is important because if we don't, we get in this mind frame in terms of depression, right? We get helpless, we get hopeless. There's no way out. I'm stuck here. And we're here to share with you. These are 3 Black women psychologists, clinical psychologists, to tell you that you are not stuck. There are other options for you. So what would you say, Dr. Roch, in terms of there's a Black woman watching right now, what would you say to her? She can't stand the job. She's crying on her way to work. She is dreading Sunday night. She's like, oh God, I got to go back to that place. That was me. So
I'm like, you know me?
Everybody here too, right?
Yes.
So if that's her, what would you say to her, Dr. Roch?
Take a deep breath. Right? Like breathe. Yes. I would say is the first thing, I always tell people take 5 deep breaths. It gives you an opportunity to just become mindful of like what's going on and what you're feeling right now. Another thing is, as Dr. TK was saying, like, what are those people who are pouring into you? Identify who are those people who are pouring like positivity into you, and start to get to a point where you start ignoring whatever negative, bosses at the job, other coworkers that's not pouring, life into you. We want to start to get away from those people as well, and then even pouring, if you don't have a lot of people around, it's even going to like the different YouTube videos, motivational talks that can actually fill you up with more positivity that you're not able to like see for yourself right now, right? Sometimes that means on your way to work, if you're already commuting anyway, instead of being upset, like, oh, I'm in traffic, say, ooh, this gives me time to be with myself and gives me the opportunity to listen to a podcast, listen to a YouTube that I can start to fill myself up and start to let myself know that I can change my hopelessness into hope. Right. Yes. Because now somebody is like trying to tell me what I should be thinking, that I can then turn some of that fear into faith. But a lot of times, we need to continue to hear things, right? Like, I mean, I want to be so scriptural, but, faith comes by hearing, right? And so that's real. Like the more that you hear something that is positive, that gives you like, hope, that's what's going to help you move forward ultimately, taking out a journal. It could be like a cute journal or a little notebook, and actually like visioning for yourself, like, what do I want my life to look like? We kind of talked about this on the Stephanie Perry show that, we want to build out our future self and we want to like allow her or him to guide our current decision-making. Yeah. Right. But it's hard to guide our current decision-making if we only have data from the past only. Right. Yeah. And we don't have like a possibility of what the future can look like for us. So you have to build that out. So then you can say, I got this. You can give yourself self-talk. I mean, whatever your self-talk is going to be. If you need to be hardcore, like Eric Thomas, give a little into the spirit. Do that. If you want to be softer to yourself and be a little bit more kind and compassion, find what your talk is, and start talking to yourself and affirming yourself, letting yourself know that, it's possible to get out of this toxic environment. Like you are enough. You are great. You are amazing. You have these skill sets. Just reminding yourself of those things.
Absolutely. And I just want to share from my perspective too, in terms of some tips. So one is pause. Okay. So those of you who went to the Exodus Summit with Stephanie Perry, Rashida Dow, we had Octavia Rahim talk to us about the importance of rest. And as Black women, we're always so busy doing stuff. Being busy all the time is a trauma response. Okay. So I'm just inviting us to pause. That's the first step to rest. When you pause, you can listen and connect to your soul. Is your soul telling you, I love this job, I want to stay here? If that's so, stay there, okay? If your soul is saying what my soul was saying to me, what Dr. TK's soul was saying, this job is killing me, I hate this place, go, okay? Now, when you think about leaving, this is the second tip. If you can take a leave of absence, please do so, okay? Because it provides you a space to just stop for a moment, listen to yourself, start exit planning. I was able to start working with Dr. TK and Dr. Roche when I was on my leave of absence. That's the third tip. Get a coach, okay? So for me, Black women coaches, that's the only way to go. That's just my perspective, okay? So get a Black woman business coach. So Amory Archer, the anti-HR HR lady, has a list of Black women coaches directory, which I'll put in the description section. That's an option for you. For therapy, okay? Because when you go through these experiences, it's very, very painful, okay? So you need to get that support and that healing. So when I talk on my channel, my YouTube channel, and also give this video a thumbs up. I forgot to say that. Thank you, Marissa. So when you think about what you're going through, the healing really doesn't really start until you leave. Because if you're still in that toxic job, getting beat down, abused, all these things, you keep going in and you keep getting beat down, okay? But the therapy can help you get that clarity, right? Like, this is not you, that's them, right? Because that environment is probably gaslighting you. So the therapy will help you reality test so you don't start self-gaslighting yourself. Like, is it me? Did I do this? What's wrong with me, right? So the therapy will help provide you with that. And number 5, absolutely, you know, I'm going to say the masterclass, right? So the masterclass is get your money right so you can leave that toxic job, okay? This is a financial masterclass for Black women, okay? So again, on the screen, you can register. And in the chat is the registration information. If you want early registration, please register before November 1st, okay? So get your ticket before November 1st, because if you're trying to watch money, you want to save some money by getting it early, okay? So that's a tip. And then as we're winding down, ladies, I would love for you both to share in what ways are you supporting the healing of Black women, particularly in toxic jobs, and really in terms of letting us know about our options and letting us know that we're not stuck in toxic jobs. So Dr. TK, I'll start with you.
Yeah, so I have a 2-part. Of course, for any therapy clients that I have, like, we definitely cover it there in terms of them even selecting, because I work with a lot of the helping profession, teachers, therapists, medical providers. So my goal for them is to, like Dr. Roche said, create a vision for how you see your life playing out over the next few months up to, a year or so. And then with the job options that you have, like, are you interviewing the interviewer? Just don't take the job because they can pay you, because you'll be sitting in the bed next to the other patient, like that's not beneficial. Right. And then in terms of therapists, I would just say I've learned how to be a very good resource, or in our world called case manager. So I know, like I said earlier, I'm not trying to be the jack of all trades. I know how to handle my finances. I've been in the financial world, financial literacy, but that's Dr. Roche land. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, you have that and I'll have this. And so, like, when we have virtual events or in-person events, I always make sure to pull on one, ideally someone who represents the clientele that I serve in terms of like them feeling and being relatable. And then I will pull them into either our coaching programs and or to our live events so that my clients can gain more resources, because I never want, as a business coach, for my clients to make the investment. Yes, they're building their businesses, but they're going to have a bigger vision, even beyond like what they're doing with me. Right. And I want to make sure that they have the tools and the resources that will help them grow and scale their mindset, bank account, and, lifestyle. So that's where I will pull on Dr. Roche and another person into our community and say, listen, these women have helped me grow my back office. They've helped, a lot of my clients. And so why not use this resource? And then ultimately I teach them how to be resourceful, because we also know we can sit on this platform all day long and talk about all these resources, but you won't see the fruits of your labor unless you actually go and take action. So like if your action is to enhance like your education around toxic environment and getting your money right, then invest in the masterclass and take the mindset that you're going to get not 10, not 20, but I believe in 30 or more, like 30%.
100K, 100-fold.
right? You know what I'm saying? And it's going to take some time because, as you said, Dr. Kamani, some people may need that fourth tier or fifth tier, which is therapy, to then go through these detachment, grief and loss processes like of the job. But at the end of the day, you're going to get a whole lot back just by investing in yourself and understanding how money impacts, you know, the rest of your life.
Absolutely. And I just want to say to Dr. K, you know, I just appreciated how, number one, how you helped me create a blueprint for being able to pivot, right? So I'm so thankful to you for that, because I wouldn't have been able to pivot without you or Dr. Roche. So thank you both. And you also showed me the importance of investing in myself, right? So coaching, and I'm just saying this to Black women, that you have to continually invest in yourself. It's not just a one-time thing. You have to continually invest in yourself, and it will pay off. And then the other thing, Dr. DK, before I ask Dr. Roche, can you speak a little bit more in terms of the value of community and accountability? That's been powerful.
Yeah. So as we mentioned earlier, like cheerleaders. So actually, I'll give you an example because I am a Black woman. So I had hit a very significant financial milestone in my business. However, I grew up in Compton. You know, had a good upbringing, like with my family and stuff like that. But, you know, community was toxic. And so I created a narrative in my head, even up to this point, that I was unable to share my wins or what I wanted with certain people out of fear that I would not be humble anymore. Or I cannot be myself anymore. You know, just so many things. Right. And so I went to like a live event next year, and they were talking about this milestone that I had hit. And I was so in a state of fear to share it because I wasn't used to having a supportive community of people who look like me that would cheer for me. I was just used to cheering for myself and having Dr. Roche and my husband. You know? So I end up telling this person, because this was like the biggest aha moment. I ended up telling this person what the milestone was, like after the event was over, when nobody was really listening. And this person almost fell out of their chair. Then I walked back to the car and I'm crying on the phone with my husband, and I couldn't figure out where these emotions were coming from. So he just sat there and listened. And I'm like, I think that I was in fear of sharing me winning. And that actually concerns me. Y'all, this was last year, this time, last October. So it ain't like it was like 10 years ago. And so I linked back up with a person, and it was just interesting because when we bring it all together and talk about like those narratives, you won't believe how many people are in your corner, but sometimes the way that we were raised, environments that we work in, and people who you surround yourself around, you may just be in the wrong circle, like as Dr. Roche had mentioned.
Yes. Check your
circle. When I end up sharing it, they end up making me cry again, but in a better way, because they were like, we would have cheered for you. And that was just like aha moment that I wanted to share with Black women, that I know that in life and in the history books, we tend to be in opposition of one another. But as a collective, there's way more people cheering for you than haters. And haters to me are also made up, because we go and find them. But people are here to cheer for you.
Yes. And seek out those people, right? And unfortunately, because I've done videos about all skin folk and kinfolk and crabs in a barrel, because that's real, right?
Yeah.
So be mindful of who is in your circle, right? There are people in your circle who are there to uplift you and support you. You keep those people close to you, right? You will find there's people around you who are, and I did a video with Alicia Bernice yesterday about envy and jealousy in the workplace, okay? And that was so well received, because unfortunately, some Black women, and I'm talking specifically about some Black women, are insecure. And so you might share with them your wins and they can't celebrate you. If they are not celebrating you and supporting you, that's a sign they should not be in your circle. Okay. So pay attention to that. Okay. So thank you for sharing that, Dr. K. What about for you, Dr. Roche? In what ways can you support Black women in the work that you do besides the masterclass, right? So again, everybody register for the masterclass. What are some other ways you support Black women in terms of toxic jobs and helping them get unstuck?
Yeah. So, one big thing, right, is that I help them with creating financial plans. It's the thing that we're the most scared of. All of us have doctorate degrees, and probably nobody ever sat down and told you about your money. And how to look at money, right? And a lot of us have a lot of fears to even look back at what we have spent. And we have a lot of money avoidance and a lot of money shame and a money embarrassment about just different money mistakes that we've made. So I definitely help you with those things. Like, let's look over those things. No judgment zone. Let's pay attention to this, but also educate ourselves so we don't make those same money mistakes in the future. right?
Yes.
So that's going to be like number one. Secondly, that aspect of benefits that is important is think about our future and think about retirement, and so I'm able to help people with, figuring out how do we roll over our money, because that's a great fear of ours or uncertainty of ours. So I'm able to help with rolling over money, but also helping you with getting protection. So like, getting life insurance. I'm a life insurance agent as well. And so I'm able to help with that part. Also how to utilize your life insurance to make it into a retirement for yourself for the future. So I'm able to help people with that, in the different programs that I have. So it just depends on what your needs are, that I can even work on you one-on-one, or, you can also figure out what your life insurance plan may be.
Awesome. Awesome. And Dr. TK, can you tell the audience more specifically about the services that you offer and how people can contact you?
Yeah. So the best ways I'll start with that. The best way to contact me is on Instagram, Dr. TK Psych. The reason I say Instagram, because I offer a multitude of different things for mental health therapists throughout the year, or even just mental health in general. And so my link in my bio is always current with any virtual events, in-person events, and then any other things that I offer. So I specifically in my coaching business work with mental health therapists, whether they are right before licensure or post licensure. So my programs range from wanting to open from scratch or relaunch an existing private practice. Because again, if we just talk about the topic, some of us like run away from jobs and just open up a business and not realize that in order for the business to stay open, we need processes. And so I make it very fun, and we have a family community. And then also I teach them how to scale their business. So we have the grow side, which is how can we help you if you want to leave your job and then have these things for private practice. And then on the scale side, it's like, okay, how can we serve more people, but still also mindset wise make a bigger impact? So I do a lot of virtual boot camps, and like once a year, I may have an in-person event that I typically will announce more so on Instagram.
And I just want to say, I appreciate you talking about scalability because, and you've talked about this with me before too, because I love helping Black women, right? So it got to the point, I had so many Black women therapy clients. Dr. TK was like, how many clients you got? I was like, I don't even know. She's like, girl, you need to stop taking individual therapy clients. You have to stop doing that. You have to think about scalability, right? So I'm telling everybody here, I'm not taking any more individual clients, right? So I give referrals a lot. And sometimes I'm so tempted because a Black woman reach out to me. I'm like, oh, I want to help you, girl. I'm like, nope, sorry, I cannot do that, right? So scalability is very important. You have to think about your preservation too, in terms of resources. I can't have 8 million clients and still do other things, right? So I appreciate, thank you, Dr. TK. And Dr. Roche, how can people contact you?
Yeah, so you can actually find me also on Instagram. I have it in there, Dr._Roche is my Instagram. So definitely on there. You also can, go to, my link tree, and you'll see like the little love method. We were talking about that on the Stephanie Perry, how professional women are, able to get their finances together through the love method, because we want to love on ourselves and love ourselves through the money game. So that's an option for you as well. And maybe we'll put it in the description on here so it's easy for them to get to. And so you'll be able to work with me and talk to me about what's going on for you, and then we can figure out what is the best plan for you as well.
Yes. And Dr. Roche, can you share, I've told little tidbits.
Yes.
Can you share what's going to happen in the master classes coming up November 8th and 9th for Black women?
Yes. I mean, the masterclass is going to be amazing. It's going to give opportunity, for community, fun, and finances. Okay. So we'll give opportunity to, of course, talk about how to create a financial plan for yourself. Like, what is that going to look like? We're going to end up talking about your talents, abilities, and gifts. How are we going to monetize those so we can make more money? Is also going to be a part of that. We will definitely talk a little bit about the rollovers and like developing your own retirement as a piece of it. Dr. Kamani is going to talk more about like the fears, the psychological aspect, the healing piece that you're going to need to go through as you're making this decision. Even depending on when you're trying to leave, we're going to also talk about, what is that going to look like? If you need to leave immediately, this is the plan for you. If you have a little bit more time, this is another plan that you can do. and recognize that it's all a lot of flexibility with it. We recognize also, this is a very important thing that me and Dr. Kamani were talking about, was about the confidentiality piece. So we're going to make sure that it's webinar oriented. So, you know, you don't have to have fear of coming on there and, you know, sharing about, you know, job or just seeing somebody seeing you. Right. And you being like, oh no, they know that I feel toxic, you know, that I'm in this toxic environment. So, you know, we'll give that opportunity, even if you just want to create more anonymity, right? You have the ability also to put a different name if necessary. So people won't know. But we want you to get the support that you need. And so that's why we, you know, created this masterclass to at least give you like some stepping stones to get started with your process.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we're also going to talk more about how to replace your income. So this is just a sneak peek. This is like a commercial, right?
Yes.
So we're going to talk more about how to replace your income. And we're going to talk about if you want to create your own business, right? So some tips for that as well. So it's going to be jam-packed with information. Like we said before on Stephanie Perry's channel, it's not going to be gloom and doom, right? It's a serious topic, right? But it's going to be fun. It's going to be interactive. You can ask questions. So as Dr. Roch said, we do know about LinkedIn trolls and other people who are shady. So some of these jobs are like plantations. So we might feel like, oh my God, I don't want people to know I'm trying to escape. Their fear is real. I understand that, right? So that's why it's going to be in Zoom webinar format. You will not be seen. If you want to comment, your name will not be posted. If you want to comment, you can use a different name, okay? Now, for Black women who are out the country, or maybe they are not able to go to the live, you will be able to access the replay. So after the live is over, you'll be able to access the replay also, okay? If you know a Black woman who is struggling, she in a toxic job, maybe you're not, which is hard to believe because most Black women are in a toxic job. But let's say you want to gift another Black woman. You are able to do that too. So if you're looking out for your mother, your sister, your cousin, whoever, your friend, you can gift her the masterclass too. So again, remember, early registration ends November 1st. So please get your ticket before you have to pay more money. Give this video also a thumbs up. It lets YouTube know to suggest this video to other Black women, and also subscribe to this channel. So before we sign off, I do want to give honor to our community and read what's in the chat. And then we're going to sign off. Okay. So I see here for it. Good evening. I'm very excited to be here. Hello, everyone. A lot of hellos. Okay, so remember, give this video a thumbs up. Peace, love, and light to all. People are responding to if they want to make money and get money. They like that, Dr. Roch. So let's see. Yes, I also went back to work because of fear. And you know what? Okay, I'm going to share something. I told Dr. Roch, I didn't tell you, Dr. TK. So my old job actually asked me to come back, right? Yes, they did. I saw the expression, right? You like, what? Yes, they asked me to come back, right? And I just want to say that might happen to you, just like a bad relationship, right? Just like a breakup, how the abuser will try to get you back, right? And so it's important for you to really say for yourself, is this what I want to go back to? Okay, I'm doing a different video about that, but I just wanted to just say that. Good. Okay.
It's a whole series.
Say what?
That's a whole series. Why did I go back?
Girl. Girl.
That is.
Oh my God. Yes. A newbie here, hand pink. Hello, welcome. My therapist just sent me this. Wow. Well, thank you for joining. Thank you for joining. Let's see. Hey, talents, abilities, gifts. Tag like you talked about. Good evening, ladies. Thank you for sharing this information. You are not stuck. There are other options for you. Absolutely. Amen. So Marissa's just reviewing what I said before. Pause and reflect. Take a leave of absence. Get a Black woman coach, therapy, and register for the financial masterclass. Need to follow your lead and work with both ladies. Yes, indeed. Okay. Interview the interviewer. Absolutely. Thank you. So remember, if you decide to go to another job, okay, now I'm jaded now, honestly, right? All the things I do now, either contract basis or I'm making my own money, okay? But if you choose to go to another job, like Dr. TK said, interview the interviewer, right? So make sure you're asking the questions that this job is good for you. As Amory Archer says, the anti-HR lady, you do not want to end up in another toxic job. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So be mindful of that. Again, check your circle. You might be in the wrong circle. Do you also discuss getting or speaking with a financial planner? So what would you say about that, Dr. Roche, a financial planner?
Yeah, I mean, well, it depends. We'll talk a little bit about, like, what that may look like. Or even if you can just talk to me, maybe like having a one-on-one, I can tell you if you need to go to somebody else or if I'm able to help you and serve you.
Yeah. Yeah. And let me just say, I vouch for both these women. Okay. So Dr. Roche, when I told you she helped me, because I had some straight up serious money issues, right? And I'm in a totally different place. So thank you. And I see Dr. CK even wrote in the chat, register y'all, right? I see someone registered. Awesome. Anita left yesterday. You know what? Don't beat yourself up. Okay. We're going to practice self-forgiveness. We might say, oh, I wish I could have. And I even beat myself up sometimes, like, dang it, why did I sit there that long, right? That does not serve us, okay? You can make a new choice. Today is a new day. You can still register. You can still get out, okay? That part, they call it LinkedIn stalking on my current job. They were doing it to our CEO and others during my first month on the job. Crazy. Yes, I call them LinkedIn trolls. I did a video about that. The LinkedIn trolls are real, okay? So if you are a Black woman and you want to post things or you're trying to find opportunities, talk to other people in your network about how to get around LinkedIn trolls, because I don't want to say it here because I don't want to tip them off, okay? Give me out, Jesus. I'll be in class on the 8th and 9th. Yes. We can't wait to see you. Yes. I'm grateful, thankful for you ladies. Not in this life. Will I go back? Yes. Thank you, ladies, for sharing a lot of wisdom here. The power of community. Yes, yes, yes. My cutoff colleague asked me to come back for free. What?
Free?
What? Are you crazy? No. That is audacity. Yeah. Like, girl, go somewhere. Okay. I'm using those good benefits to stay home and rest. Good.
Yes.
I love it. Okay, everyone. So thank you again for tuning in. So as I said before, we are here to talk about you can get unstuck. Even though you're in a toxic job, the job is sucking all the life out of you. It's just like, it's a soul sucking experience. I know, I've been there. You have other options. Okay. That's what we're here to talk about. That if money is an issue for you, if you feel stuck and tied to that job because of money or your health benefits, we are sharing with you that you have options. Okay. We offered you some tips today. We have here Dr. TK in terms of you can work with her. We have Dr. Roche. You can work with her. You can work with me. You can come to the masterclass. You have options. I want you to know. Look at me. Look at my videos. Okay. I've chronicled my whole journey over the past year about leaving a toxic job. You can leave too, and you can do well. You can do very, very, very well. Okay. I'm telling you, I'm doing a much better space psychologically, physically, financially. Okay. You can be there too. I also see thank you all. I logged in by fate. This is speaking to me on so many levels. Yes. Thank you for tuning in. I'm driving, but loving all of this. Congratulations on all you're doing. Thank you so much. And everyone, again, please give this video a thumbs up. Also subscribe to my channel, Lifting Us to Climb Consulting Wellness Services. Get your ticket to the masterclass today. Again, early registration ends November 1st. And as I am healing and I'm helping as many Black women as I can. So remember, I'm telling you, I'm ushering in a movement to help as many Black women as I can to leave and heal from toxic jobs, okay? It's hard to heal if you're getting crispy, right? So Melissa, she wrote in here, she was the one who said this. She said, sometimes you're in environments where you get crispy, right? You might be getting crispy right now, right?
Yes.
Uncrispy, you can get out. So it's hard to heal, okay? Yes, you can access the replay. I see that. You logged in late, you can go to the replay, which is on my YouTube channel, Lifting As We Climb Consulting Wellness Services. So when this video is over, you can watch the replay. Okay. So as I'm healing, as I'm sharing information with you, Black women, you have to be open to receive the information. Okay. I want you to know it's scary. I understand it. We have to confront our fears. We have to move past it. In terms of faith, it's very important. And I'm asking you, as I'm reaching out for you, I'm asking you to reach out to other Black women. If you know of a Black woman who is going through, she's in a toxic job, please support her and uplift her. Please don't step on her neck while she's down, okay? And also share this video with at least 2 other Black women, okay?
Yes.
So I'm signing off. Again, thank you everyone for tuning in. Thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, get the masterclass, okay? So I'll see you later. Dr. Roch and Dr. TK, if you guys can stay on, okay? Okay.
Bye, ladies. Bye, everybody.
Bye.